why am I doing this thing called a 2-week challenge, or 14 days, 14 videos? It's because I've been on this app for 2 years, and I initially got on the app to talk about running and to talk about leadership principles. Really leadership principles, but if you run, you're working into every conversation you can. Sorry. Leadership principles. Within a couple of weeks, I realized that rather than talk about leadership principles in abstract, we continue to be in a leadership crisis in our country, culturally, politically, and within my faith community, spiritually. I was really surprised as I went along now 2 years at how many people I felt like I was able to connect with. How many of you guys, through the comments and the videos, many of you have been just really generous with your encouragement. Thank you. But there was something else that I think shocked me more, and that was when I left as a Republican, when I said, you know what, fine, not my party anymore, and I began to think as an independent. Forget independent party. We're not going down that road. It's a rabbit hole. Hang on with me for a minute. As I began to think as an independent, the freedom that brought, and it allowed me for the first time. I'd never really thought about rethinking a lot of my positions. I mean, I've got a lot of life experience now. Stand to reason that maybe I've learned a few things that might cause me to change my opinion about some things. But when you're a member of a party, you're a member of the party. You hold the line. You wear the jersey. You're loyal. When I broke free from the Republican Party, it allowed me to really stop and think, what do I really believe? And a lot of that kind of overlaps within my faith. And so now this video, I'm trying to encourage everybody, but in particular Republicans, because those are the ones I know. Particularly if you're a Republican Christian, again, the community of people that I understand the best, to allow yourself, even if for just 2 weeks, to think apart from the political party line. To think apart from the political party line and really reevaluate what you think you believe. I want to do it by walking through in succession some principles. Part 1 was about, what does the Constitution say about religion? What do some of the early founding father writers of the Constitution, what did they say and believe about the Constitution, about religion and its place in government? The second episode, yesterday, was about, well, what does Jesus think about politics? If you haven't seen those 2 episodes, please go back and watch them, please. What I want to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of a snippet. I've done this twice now in the last 2 videos of a podcast that I started about a year ago. I only want to take a couple of minutes of it, play it, make a few comments, ask a few questions. So basically, building on episode 1, that in Madison's perspective, and I agree with it, that an alliance or coalition of government and religion cannot be guarded against too carefully, and that each government and religion will exist in greater purity the more that they're kept separate. James Madison said that. And then episode 2, Jesus on politics. Go back and watch it, but the essence of it, Jesus not only did not engage in politics, he rejected politics. You know what I'm talking about? Go back and listen, please. Picking up now, episode 3, how did that play out for the Israelites? Or as Dr. Phil would say, so how did that work out for them? Sorry, I'm not going to do an impersonation. Just quick 2 minutes. And thank you guys for your patience and going through this with me. Jesus was not interested in the politics that engulfed his people. 1,000 years before Jesus came, and I alluded to it a little bit ago. The Israelites had grown tired of living in that loose confederation of tribes. They were tired of the judges, they were tired of the corruption, and they were right about the corruption. It was there, it was real. And they wanted a king. They wanted a political structure that they thought would protect them. So the tribal leaders brought this complaint to Samuel. That was the priestly representative at the time serving as their judge. Eventually, God granted what the people demanded from Samuel, a king, King Saul. He was the first king of the Israelites. Over time, however, Saul failed God at great cost to the Israelite nation, and God removed him. But how did Saul even get there? And I think the story found in 1 Samuel chapter 8 has a lot to do with how Christians ought to view today's state of Christian nationalism. The verses say, "But when they said, 'Give us a king to lead us,' this displeased Samuel. And so he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord told him, 'Listen to all that the people are saying to you. It's not you that they've rejected, but they have rejected me as their king, as they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly and let them know what the king who will reign over them will claim as his rights.' Well, Samuel did. He explained it all. But the people refused to listen to Samuel. 'No,' they said, 'we want a king over us, and then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go out before us and fight our battles.'" To go out before us and fight our battles. 8th chapter, 1 Samuel. For some evangelical Christians, things haven't changed. They're still looking for that king to go fight their battles. To me, it's been pretty clear for years now. I'm 60, and for years now, it's been pretty clear that the Christian community, who likes to think of itself as the country, but we're not. This is not a Christian country. This is a country with the freedom to worship as we choose. And that means anybody and everybody. But I think for years now, I've seen Christians beginning to identify as a voting bloc, wanting people to stand up and pay attention to us, to respect what we think, and to quit jacking around with our culture and things that we believe in that make life more comfortable for us. Let me ask you guys something. I'm not saying that as Christians we shouldn't vote, that we shouldn't participate in politics. Participate, run for office if you want. Where I have a real hard time is when we begin to see politics as a surrogate, as the same thing as our faith. And in doing so, we are aligning our faith with a corruptible, it's dragging the name of Christ into the sewer. And let me ask you, if you're a believer in Christ, did you come to that belief because somebody beat you up over it? Because somebody, I don't know, legislated it, passed a law, forced you into a corner? I love God. I love my family. I love our country. But God tells all of us through Christ that that's not enough. He says we're also supposed to love our neighbor. Who's our neighbor? Anybody, everybody. It's hard to convince somebody who doesn't believe as we do that they ought to think about it, that God is worth loving. If we're constantly pummeling them politically, rhetorically, if we see them as people coming across the border just to take our stuff. Thanks for sticking with me through the end of this video, and hope you guys will pick back up with episode 4. Thanks.